This is an explanation of user forms in Excel. I've divided this course into sections, so you may only need to watch the section that you need. I've created this course several years ago and I've decided to put it online for free. A basic understanding of VBA is required for this course. I will put up a link to my free introduction to VBA for Excel in the description. The course is too long to place in one video, so this is part one of the course. I will have part two up shortly. We're going to talk about message boxes now. Message boxes are quite different than the normal user form. They come right out of your VBA code. So now let's open up on our developer tab. Let's go to Visual Basic and then let's insert a new module. So you don't have to insert a message box, you insert a module. And so I'm going to just call this practice, first of all, sub practice message. And I'm going to put opening bracket, closing bracket, and I'm going to press enter. And so now message boxes, the syntax for message boxes are as follows. Message box equals message box, and then you put a bracket and you say prompt and buttons, title, help file, context. Now, what I normally use is I just use the message box on the prompt. I use message boxes quite often when I'm working on my VBA. If I'm trying to find out whether values are actually coming through, it's a very quick and easy way of doing it. And so let's just show you an example of message boxes. Okay, so you can go message box, which is MSGBOX, and then whatever you put in quotation marks there is what is going to appear. So you can say hello. Okay, so then that's as far as we need to do. We can run this. And there you get your little message box and it says hello. Now, that doesn't sound overly exciting, but it's very exciting when you're calculating figures to work out. And so you go, okay, and so now let's change message box to a number. So if we had, if we put a number in there, so let's say the number 4, there's no need to put the quotation marks around it. So if we run this again, you will have message box and it's got 4 and you can say okay. So there's no need to put quotation marks around it. Now, if you declared a value, let's say dim example as long, and then you go example equals 4 plus 5. Now, if you wanted to display what the result is of the 4 plus 5, which is your example, then you could just put in example here. And so let's run this again. And so there you have result of your 4 plus 5 is 9, and that's the value of what you've calculated on the sheet. So when I'm working with my VBA code, quite often I'm looking to see whether things are working out the way I want them. Now, it's simple to not have this. It is simple to remove a message box after you figured out what your values are calculating to be. You just simply click the single quotation mark in front of message box and it turns green, so it's a comment. And so if you ran this, you would get actually nothing out of here. So there's nothing, no value pops up. When we run our basic message box with example, so let's run this game, and you notice that the title of the message box is Microsoft Example or Microsoft Excel. Now, that might not be exactly what we want, so let's play with that, and I'll show you what you can do. So, after example, you're going to put a comma there, and then you're going to have a whole list of buttons, and we're not going to worry about that. We'll deal with that later on. And then we're going to write title equals, and then a colon and an equal statement, or an equal sign, an equal sign. And then I put, I'll put error here. And so that possibly you want to expose, if you're doing this more to everybody else, sending it to your users, you might want to say that this is an error. So let's run this. And now the Microsoft Excel has been replaced by error. Now, this is good, but there's other things you can do with it as well. So in this situation, maybe we want to put up the example. So let's type in example here. And when we run this again, you will have your example as the heading. So that works out fine as well. So the syntax is you have title, full colon, and you have equal and example. Now, if you are working with a whole pile of data or a big sheet, and you wanted to find out what the value that was entered in a certain cell, you could do this as well. You could do, so let's take off the rest of this. Now, I've entered yes in A5 here, and you could have any value you'd like in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to write prompt, because you're telling it where to get the data from. So I'm going to press delete, and I'm going to press delete again so I get rid of this. And I'm going to go prompt and full colon, and then I'm going to go equals, and then I'm going to go sheet 1. I'm sorry, sheet equals sheet 1, sheets 1 dot range, and then we're going to put A5, and we're going to end the quotations, and we're going to end the brackets, and then we're going to go comma, and then we are going to type in our title, full colon, equals, and then we go showing from A5. Okay. Okay, so let's run this and see what we get. So it says showing the data from A5, and we have yes. That's exactly what's entered in here. And then you say okay. The next thing that we're going to do with the message box is we're going to put the date in there. Now, a date requires you to have pound signs on both sides of the date. So if I want to put in the date, I'm going to put in pound sign, and I'm going to put 11/17/2020, and I'm going to put another pound sign. And if we run this, we're going to get Microsoft Excel, and then the date is displayed there. Okay, but now what would make sense is if you put a message instead of Microsoft Excel there. So let's change the title. So let's go title :: equals, and we'll say the date. Maybe I should put the capitals. Date that this was compiled. And so not only can you change it to the date, but you can also change it to the message that you want with the date. So the date means something to whoever you're giving it to. So it says the date that this was compiled, and then it says the date below that. And one more time you say okay. Up until now, every time we ran a message box, we had one button available to us, and that was okay. So I'll just show you again. And here we have our example number 9, and then we have okay. Now we have other options to do this. So I'm going to go okay. Now you have options that are numbered 1 through 6 to get you different options for your buttons. So if I put the comma there, I can put, for example, 2, and I should get, I'm sorry, let's put 1 there, comma, and then 1, and I should get okay and cancel instead of just okay. Okay, and then click away. All right, and then if we run this, we get okay and cancel. Now, I have the list in your notes of what all the numbers mean, but there is an easier way of doing this. Microsoft has given us a drop-down list. After we put the comma after our message that we're sending, it'll give you a drop-down list of what you can do with the buttons. And so here we go down to the bottom. So we have okay, cancel, okay, only. Then we have retry, cancel, and we have yes, no, cancel. And they are all here somewhere in the list. You can find all of them. Okay, so you need to try all of these in my notes that I'm supplying with this course, so you can get to know what the numbers are, and then you can simply do that. So number 5 is retry, cancel, and so I'm going to go and run this, and I should have retry, cancel on my message box. Retry and cancel. So once you get to know these numbers, they're very handy. Or if you press the comma, you're given a drop-down list that you are able to select the number or the button types that you want for each of your message boxes. We are going to start by making a simple user form to enter customer names. Now I'm on sheet 1 here, and I have put in A1 I have put first name, and in B1 I have put last name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rename sheet 1 to customers. And press enter. Okay, so now we would like to create a user form so that you can enter customer names. We are going to go to the Developer tab. We are going to go to the Visual Basic window. And then we are going on the Visual Basic window, we're going to go Insert and User Form. Your user form will be popped up in front of you on the screen, and you will also have a toolbox available for you. Now, I have my properties window here open. How I did that is I'll close it right now. And you can do one of two things. You can go View and go Properties, or you can right click on your user form and go Properties, and your Properties window will be displayed. The Properties user form for the user form is user form. It says user form name, and I would like to change this. I'm going to leave user form 1 as the name of it, but I'm going to change the caption. And I'm going to put in customers. And press enter. And there you have your username has now been renamed customers. Okay, so to get my toolbox back up, I'm going to click on my user form. Now, first of all, we need 2 labels. We'd like to enter both a first name and a second name, have those fields available to us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on this big A here, which is the label, and we're going to just drag it out to the user form about right here. And you can click and drag it out again right there. So now we're going to click on the label 1, the first one that we've done. And if you notice in the properties window here, it says label 1. And then we don't need to change the name of it, but we're going to change the caption. So we're going to name it first name. Okay, and I want to increase the font. If you go down, the caption this is alphabetical, so it's under C for caption, and then font. So I'm going to click on the where it says Tacoma, and I'm going to hit the 3 ... and I'm going to change it. The font is fine. I'm going to change it to 11 so that it's a little bigger, and I'm going to say OK. Okay, so now we have our first name formatted. So let's click on our second label. And once again, we're not going to change the name of it, but we're going to change the caption, and we're going to call it last name. Okay, and then I'm going to click on Tacoma again, and I am going to make it 11. Okay, so now I have my first name and my last name labels in. So now let's put in a place where they can enter the first name and the last name. So let's click on the text box icon, and I'm going to drag it from the toolbox, and I'm going to put it approximately here. The names tend to be long, so I'll be a little longer. And then once again, I am going to put it right about here, line it up a little bit. And once again, these tend to be long. So now we're going to go and we're going to go to the property. So under the first name, what we're going to do is there's not a label on this one, obviously, because it's where the text is going to be entered. So what we're going to do is we are going to change the name of this just so that we're able to find it when we're coding. So I'm going to go first TXT and press enter. Okay, so now let's click on the second one and we're going to call this last TXT and press enter. Okay, let's click back on our user form again. Now we would like two buttons here. We would like an OK button, and we would like to, if you change your mind and you don't want to enter them, you want a cancel button. So the button on our toolbox is this little AB with the rounded edges. And so let's drag this out for the first button here. And let's drag this out for the second button here. That's going to bring it down a bit. So they're lined up. Now let's click on the first one, and we're going to change the name of this as well. So we've clicked on the Command 1 button, and we are going to both change the name of this, and we are going to change the caption of this. So I'm going to call this the OK BTN for button. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the caption and I'm going to take out Command button 1 and I'm going to go OK. Okay, and so now once again I'm going to go down to Tacoma and I'm going to make it 11 and I'm going to say OK. Now the other button that we're going to click on, we'd like to cancel. So if you change your mind and you don't want to enter anything, then what you're going to do is you're going to do cancel. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the name on this and we are going to call it cancel. Cancel BTN. And then we're going to go down to the caption one more time and we're going to type in cancel. And once more, I'm going to go to the font and I'm going to change it to 11. Okay, so now we've got all our buttons and all our fields here. Let's make some code so this works. So first of all, I'm going to double click on my OK button. And then I'm going to be brought to the VBA window. And it says private sub OK button click. So this is what's going to happen when you click on this button. So now we're going to write some code for the OK button. And as you can see, when you double click that button, you get private sub OK button dot click. So when you click the OK button, this is what's going to happen. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to declare a couple variables. So dim ws as worksheet. And then we're going to press enter and we are going to go dim end row as long. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to declare, first of all, we're going to declare what the worksheet is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go set ws equals, and it's going to be worksheets and we're going to go opening bracket and then we're going to go quotation marks and we renamed our sheet customer, so I'm going to put that in. And making customers, let me put an S in there so it's not wrong. And then we're going to close the quotation mark and close the brackets. And now what we're going to do is we're going to declare what the end row is. So if you're familiar with the Control A function, what we're going to do is the Control A function to find all the cells that have data in them, and then we're going to ask for the cell that's below that. So what we're going to go is go end row, and we're going to go equals, and then what we're doing is application worksheet function, and so we have to call it up as that. Dot worksheet function. I'm going to select it so I don't mistype it, and then I'm going to call it what is called on the rest, which is count A. It's bringing it up here. Once again, I'm going to select it, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go opening bracket, and I'm going to go WS for worksheet, and I'm going to go range, and I'm going to look in the A column. So I'm going to do opening bracket, quotation marks, capital A, full colon, and so it's looking all of the A column. I'm going to close the quotation marks. I'm going to close the brackets, and then I have another bracket here in front of worksheet, and so I'm going to close that. And now I don't want the one with the last one with data. I would like the one after that, so I'm going to go +1. Okay, so now that we've set everything else, let's put the data in our cells. So first of all, we are going to put the first name in the A column. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go WS for worksheet, and we're going to go cells, and it's right there so I don't have to type it. And then we're going to go end row, E row for end row, comma 1 for the A column, end of bracket, dot value, and then we're going to go equals me, which is the short form for my user form, me, and then we're going to go, remember it was the first, so first.text, so we start typing first.text, and here it comes up, dot value. Okay, so now what we do is we press enter, and we can do it all again. WS dot cells, press tab. Now end row, comma 2 for the B column, and we're going to end this dot value equals, once again, me is equal to our user form. And if you remember what we did last, so last text, there we have the name of the range, dot value. Okay. So now we've got the OK button, the code written for the OK button. Let's go back to the user form, and let's double click on the cancel button. And so there you have private sub cancel button, click. And this is very easy. All you do is you go unload space me. And there you are. So now let's go out and test this. So let's go to the user form. Let's click on the user form. Let's hit the run button on our Visual Basic window. Let's click the run button on our Visual Basic window. And so then we have our place to put our first name. So I'm going to put Barney. And then I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to put Rubble. And then I'm going to say OK. And there it's entered at the bottom of the screen. Now if we go cancel, then it's all gone away. So now if we go run again, and we're just going to prove to ourselves that it's going to go below this we're going to put in Fred, and then I'm going to put in Flintstone. And then I'm going to go OK. So there, it's working perfectly. Okay, so I will include this in the, so you can download this file. I'll also have a notebook on what the code is exactly to run here. And in the next section, I will show you how to call up this user form and to put a button on your sheet. So we have our user form developed now, and we would like to have a button on our sheet to bring up our user form. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Visual Basic window, and we have the user form selected. And if you notice here, you go down the alphabetical order here, and you see have height at 180, and then you scroll down further, and the width is 240. So note that, because it's called the ever shrinking user form. If you don't specify the height and the width when you're calling it up, quite often it turns into very tiny or very huge. So you need to specify the size. So you need to specify the height of 180 and the width at 240. So now let's go into, we're going to insert a module. And we're going to call a simple Visual Basic program. We're going to go sub show user form, and opening bracket, closing bracket. Okay, and so now, so you're going to go a with statement here. So with user form, with user form 1, and then we can do, because we have a with statement here, and we can just do dot. So we'll go tab, and we'll go dot width, and our width was 240. And then we'll go and dot height, (180). And then what we're going to do is, the last thing is we're going to go dot show. We've done all this, then we need to put in an end width. Okay, so now let's make sure that this runs. So let's go in front of the sub here, and let's click on the run button. And there you go, there's your user form. So we're good. So we'll cancel out of this, and we'll go back. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our worksheet. We'll have the developer tab, on the developer tab here, and then you have this toolbox here. You're going to click the list arrow below the toolbox, and you're going to select the button. And so I'm going to click and drag it right here. And now it immediately asks you what you want to run with this. And so you're going to go show user form, and you'll say OK. Okay, so now what you need to do is we need to click in here, or else you can right click and say edit. But this normally works. And so we're going to go delete, 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 delete. And I'm going to go show form. Okay, so now if we wanted to bring up our form, all we'd have to do is click on the button, and our user form would come up. So that's how you bring up your user form, so you can display it anytime you need to on your sheets. We're now going to talk about formatting your user form. So let's insert a basic user form. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, and so now we have, if you click on your user form and you go to the properties, you have your options here on formatting your user form. The first thing you can choose is your background color. So now they give you the system background colors, which are standard issue, dark gray, and the basics. But then there is, of course, a larger palette that you can select from. So I think I'm going to pick the blue here. Now it appears when you're in the design mode that you have all these dots on here. These dots will not show up when you run this. It will, the dots are just so you can align your fields. So let's, for example, run this. And you get your user form, and it's just basically the blue there. Okay, so now let's go back to playing with the colors on our user form. So there's all kinds of colors you can pick here, and now we have border style. There's a drop-down list. If you click on the border style, you can select from the standard issues, or you can select another. And so I have the light blue here. Maybe I'll go dark blue for the border style. And once again, let's run to see what it looks like. And you can slightly see the border along here. It's not very prominent, but it's there. Okay, so now let's go on. So the border style now, we selected border color. Now let's select the border style. Now we have form border style none. And so let's go to single style. And now it's a little bit larger. So if we look at this, you can slightly see it a little bit more. Not a huge amount, but it's there. Okay, so let's go down some more options that we have here. So I'm going to put a label on here, and I'll make it like this. Now, you can change the style and size of your font by going down to the font here where it says Tacoma, and then we can choose bold, and let's choose 12 and say OK. Now, so that's the size and style. If we want to go to the color of your font, it's 4-color. So let's click that. And once again, you have the palette of the normal ones. And then you can also choose from all ranges of color. So now let's run this again and see what it looks like. So that's looking a little different than the normal issue one that we normally have. The other thing I wanted to show you, let's go back, is if you have fields, you have a field here and a field here and a field here, oops, and a field here. It doesn't look very nice with them all over the form. Now if we click the first one and press the control key and click the second one, and then we can right click and we can choose to align. Now if we align to the tops of the two cells will be are going to be level now. Or if we click this one and press the control key and click the second one, and we can go align, we can align to the left so that they both line up. Perfect, right? Okay, so now if you wanted to put a picture as your background, what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down until you see picture right here. And if you notice, it has nothing there. So we're going to click the dot, 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 and then we're going to select a picture. JPEG and GIF work well here. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to select a picture of me and my horse. Okay, so now what we have here is the picture in the background. And so if you had a picture of a site that you're wanting to do or something else, you could put that in simply here. Once you have the picture in on the user form, then you have two other things that comes up here. We have picture alignment. And so I can go top left, I can go bottom right, see my feet, and I'll go back to center. Okay, then below that you have the picture size mode, and now you can pick how big you want this picture to appear. You can select from the drop-down list, this is a clip of the picture. You can go stretch it so you can see bigger out, and then you can go zoom so you can see basically the smaller version of it, or you can go back to the first one. Okay, so this option of having a picture behind the user form isn't very common, but it can be effective depending on the audience that will be using your software or using your application. Next thing we're going to do is talk about putting in a logo on your user form. So what I'm going to do is I am going to insert a new user form, and now on your toolbox you have down here you have an image. Putting logos on user forms is far more common than putting a picture in as a background. So let's just click this and let's go and put the logo here. And we're assuming you have fields and labels and buttons all the way else here. Okay, so now when you go to the properties for this that you just entered, this picture that you just entered, once again the picture says none, and I'm going to select my logo, and then it looks kind of weird here, so you're thinking, ooh. And so what I'm going to do is down below here we have picture, and I've selected it, and now we have different alignments. But first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to picture size mode, and I'm going to go zoom, or I could go stretch, just so you have the logo in its entirety on your screen. The other thing that you have is you have picture tiling. Now, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but here's the option, and we'll go true. And it appears as though the picture is sitting on top of the user form if you do that. So if we go here, then our logo looks like it's right on top of the user form. So let's go back to the user form 2. And so I'm going to take off the tiling. Okay, so now alignment and picture alignment in center. We can go center, we can go top. Now this one fills up the whole thing, so it's not going to make much difference. So with the combination of the two things that I've showed you, both the user form and changing the labels and the fields, and using your logo, which is a more common thing, this will make you produce very, very professional looking user forms. I will include this file so you can play with it, and I have some basic notes on what I've been talking about. The next thing that we're going to discuss is checkboxes. So let's get out a new user form here. So I'm on my Visual Basic screen. I go Insert, and I go User Form. Okay, so go across the list of our tools, and we have the checkbox as the next one. So let's just show you an example. Now, in a checkbox, there's only two possible outcomes of a checkbox. You can have true or false. So let's just drag this out to our sheet here, or our user form here. And I'm going to call it, I'm just going to leave it as checkbox. And then the only thing that we need to do is we need to put a button on here. Okay, and so I'll just call this, I'll call this button, the caption I'll say is enter. Okay, so now if we double click on our enter button, first click away from there, then we get our command button for the click when you click on the button on this user form. Okay, so I'm just going to put the very basic code you can put for a checkbox box. So it goes if checkbox one dot value, and I didn't change any of the names or anything else. Value equals true, because it can only be true or false. Then, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create another, I'm going to create a message box, and I'm going to say message and then I'm going to say the check box, or why don't I say the box was checked. Okay, and then I'll put the end quotation marks, and then I'll go an else for my if then else statement here. So if it's not checked, then it's false, but we don't need to worry about that. And so I'm going to go else, and then I am going to go message box that the box was not checked. And I'm going to say the box was not checked. Okay, so then we're going to end our if. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to save that. And now let's go to our user form. Click on the user form, and we're going to run it. And so let's just press enter without having the box checked, and we get this box. The box is not checked. And we say okay. Now let's check the box, and let's press enter. And you say the box was checked. So it's either yes or no, and you can basically do whatever you like relative to whether this is yes or no. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one with the checkbox that you can have many options checked. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use several options for checkboxes on a user form. And so what I've done in sheet 1 is I've put in column A room type, and B I've put smoking, do they smoke or not? And so let's make another user form. So I'm going back to my Visual Basic here, and there I have my user form. And so now I'm going to insert another user form. And so I'm going to go insert, and I go user form. And now on this one, I am going to enter 4 checkboxes. So the room type, I am going to I'm going to put the checkbox here first. And then I'm going to I'm going to change the caption on this one. I'm going to leave the name of it the same. I'm just going to call it single. And then I'm going to put maybe I'll just squeeze this in a little bit. And then I'm going to put another checkbox. And I'm going to put it right beside this one. And I am going to call it double. Now, I'd like also to find out from these people if they're registering for a dorm room or a hotel room or something else, whether they smoke or not. So let's put this one in here. And I'm going to change the caption on this one to smoking. And then I'm going to put another one there, and I'm going to call it non-smoking. I suppose I should capitalize that. Okay, so the only thing that we need left to do here is we need to go get our button from the form here, and I'm going to drag it out here. And I'm just going to change the caption to this from Command Button 1 to the word enter. Okay, so now what we have to do is we're going to have to write a little bit of code to tell them what all of these things mean. So let's double click on the enter here. And then we're brought to Command Button 1 click. Okay, and so the first thing I'm going to define is I'm going to define on sheet 1, I'm going to define what the last row is. So I'm going to go dim e row as long, and then I'm going to go e row equals sheet 1 range. So range, then I'm putting an opening bracket, and then I'm going to put quotation marks and an A, and the end of quotation marks, and then I'm going to put ampersand for and then I'm going to put rows count, and then I'm going to end the brackets, and then I'm going to go dot end, and then I'm going to go opening bracket, and I'm going to go XL up, and then I'm going to close the bracket, and I'm going to go row plus 1, and that should get me to the last row or the end row on my sheet 1. Okay, so then the next lines, I have a group of lines that I'm going to enter in, and I'm going to be able to copy that. I have 4 checkboxes on my user form too, and I have the same lines of code goes for each one of them. So in the first one is if checkbox 1 dot value equals true, then what you're going to do is you're going to say sheet 1 dot cells, and then we're going to go end row that we figured out up there, comma 1 dot value equals single. And then I'm going to go and end if. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab over the sheet 1 so that it looks proper. And then, so we've got sheet 1, the first checkbox figured out. So let's copy this. And let's put it in for sheet 2, or I mean for checkbox 2. So now all we have to do is change checkbox 1 to checkbox 2. And then if we're going to the same row, and so the second one is double. So if they don't pick one, it's either single or double, so that second one is double. Okay, so now why don't we copy this again for the third checkbox? And so then we'll change that to 3. And now let's change, we want it to be end row, but we want it to be the B column because we want to know if they're smoking or not. So let's change the value from E row 1 to E row 2. And the first option is smoking. And so now let's copy this one more time. Let's copy this one here because we've changed them up to there. And let's paste it here. And so I'm going to go checkbox 4. Now the row is right, and I'm going to put non-smoking. Okay, so that should be good. So now let us run our user form 2 and see what happens. So I'm going to click not on the box, and then I'm going to click run. And so there I have, so I say I want a single room and I want non-smoking, and I go enter. And so that works. So we can take these check marks off. And now I want a double room and I want non-smoking, and that goes as well. And take these ones off. And we want a single room and smoking. So there we can put all the things in here, and it works great. But what happens if you have somebody that's not sure whether they're single or double, they're not sure if they're smoking or non-smoking? So if they choose single and double, and they choose smoking and non-smoking, then what happens is you get the most recent one checked. So you would get double and non-smoking. And so you get double and non-smoking when they haven't decided what they want to do. So this is the problem with checkboxes. Checkboxes, you can check them all. You can't, when you have single or double, you can check both of them, and it's only going to cause confusion in the form. So now the next thing we're going to talk about is radio buttons or option buttons, and those are the ones that you can only have select one or the other. So I'm back on my worksheet, and I'm just going to wipe out this information that we put in from the checkboxes. And so now let's go to our user form, and let's put in a third user form. So I'm going to my developer tab, I'm going to Visual Basic, and so what I'm going to do is we've got user form 1 and 2, so now let's put in user form 3. So I'm going to go insert and user form, and now we have a user form here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in radio buttons. Radio buttons are very similar to checkboxes. You can either have a true or a false for them, but you can only select one. So let's put in, first of all, let's put in a little captions here. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the label, and I'm going to put in let me put in the caption as room room type. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to select one radio button, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put the caption in here as single. Okay, and then I'm going to maybe just squish this a bit, and I'm going to select another radio button, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to change the caption to double. Unlike checkboxes, you can either select one or the other. You can't select both. Now, if we're going to have the room type as single or double, then let's group those together so that those are the only two things that are going yes or no. They've either got to be one or the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the single. I'm going to press the control key, and I'm going to click on the double. So I have them both selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the properties button here. I'm going to go down to the group name, and I'm going to go room. Press enter. Okay, so that means that if I click on one of these, it says group, it's single, it's in the group name of room, and I click on the double, and it goes in the group name of room. Now, the next category I'm going to do is smoking. So I'm going to put a label up to here, and I'm going to put the label, change it to smoking, and I'm going to change the caption to smoking with a question mark. And press enter. And now I'm going to put on two radio buttons, one for smoking and one for non-smoking. Bring this in a bit, and the caption I'm going to is put smoking in here. And then I'm going to group it again, or click it again, and I'm going to put a non-smoking in here as well. And the caption is non-smoking. Okay, perfect. So now, let me bring this down so that it's lined up with the other one. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I'm going to group these two here and put them in the group smoking. So I've got this one clicked. Now I'm going to press my control key, and I'm going to click on the other one. And now what I'm going to do is going down to my group name, and I'm going to call it just smoke. And press enter. Okay, so now, once again, the only thing I need to do here is I need to put a button on here, and I'm going to just simply call this button enter. Perfect. So let's go on our user form, and let's rename some of these option buttons. So I've clicked on the room type, I've clicked on single, and I am going to change this to option single. So OPT single. And then And then I'm going to click on my double button and I'm going to go OPT double. Okay, and then I am going to click on my smoking and I'm going to be OPT smoke. And the last one is I'm going to click on my non-smoking button and I'm going to go OPT non-smoke. Okay, so now to get to our code, what we have to do is we're going to double click on our enter button. So the first two lines that I've entered is exactly the same lines as I entered in my checkboxes. I'm declaring the end row is long and end row equals sheet 1 range A, rows, row count, end up +1. So that's whatever the last full row is on the sheet 1. Okay, so now let's go forward and declare or say what we're going to enter in for if these buttons are checked. So I'm doing an if form. I'm going if, and right now I'm going to use the me dot, and now I'm going to put in option OPT single. There we go. If that is if its value is true, dot value equals true, then sheet 1 dot cells, and we're going to use our end row, comma 1, close the bracket, equals single. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do an else if dot active or option double dot value equals true, then sheet 1 dot cells end row, comma 1 equals double. Okay, and then we're going to end the if. So now let's do the code for the smoking. So I'm going to go if. So if I go if me dot option, so option smoke is right here, dot value equals true, then, and now we're going to go to the next line and we'll go sheet 1 dot cells, and we'll go end row 2 because we're trying to get in the B column here. And we'll go equals smoking. Okay, now we'll do an else if me dot option non-smoking, and there's it right there, dot value equals true, then sheet 1 dot cells and row comma 2 for the B column equals non-smoking. Okay, so that pretty well does our code for us. Oh, I need an end if here. Okay, so now let's go run our user form 3. So now let's click someplace besides the button and let's hit the run button. And so now we have the options in radio buttons. And so I can choose single and I can choose double, but I can only have one of them selected. If I choose single, then the other one goes blank. And so I'm going to first select the single, and I'm going to choose smoking, and I'm going to go enter. Okay, so now I'm going to, let's change it around. Let's go to double and non-smoking and press enter. And double and smoking, and let's press enter. So basically, this works just for the fact that you can only have one. By grouping them, you can, if it didn't have them grouped, then you would only be able to pick one out of all 4 of these. When you have them grouped, you're able to choose between one or the other. Now, I will include this file in your download section of this course so that you'll be able to go in and play around with what I've showed you in these options. The third option we have on our toolbox for user form is the combo box. The combo box is very similar. It produces something very similar to the list, the drop-down list on the Excel worksheet. So first of all, I'll show you how I'm setting this up. I have just a plain user form here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my sheet. And on sheet 2, I've got sheet 1 and then sheet 2 here. I have the months of a year, so I've got them listed from there until there. And so I've selected those and I've named those months. I've named the range months. Now, the same thing for years. I've selected all the years. I'm going from 220 to 225, and I'm going to put in here years. And press enter to make sure it's there. Okay, so now let's go back to our Visual Basic and let's go to our user form. Okay, so what I'm first going to do is I'm going to put a label in here, and I am going to put and I'm going to go down and I'm going to rename it to caption, and I'm going to say label, or I'm sorry, I'm going to say month, and I'm going to change the font to 11. Say OK. And then below that, I am going to put in another label, and I'm going to go year. And I'm going to change the caption to year. And once again, I'm going to change the font to 11. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to get our combo box here. So I'm going to drag it out to here next to my month. And I'm going to make it a little bigger because sometimes months are a little bit longer. And so now what I'm going to go is the name of the combo box. I'm going to make it a short form. So I'm going to go CBX and I'm going to go month. So now I've named it CBX Combo Box Month. And then we're going to go down, further down on our list until we get to row source. And here it is here. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in the name of our range, months. And click away and it should be fine. So now we're going to do the exactly same thing for our year. And I'm then going to drag the combo box and so I'll put one next to the year as well. Now I'm going to name this CBX year, just so that we're going to be able to differentiate that. And then going down the list to row source, I'm going to put in years. Okay, so now what we need to add to this user form is a button. So I'm going to drag my button from here, and I'm just going to change the caption to add. So the caption is button 1, and I'm going to say add. And I'm going to change it to 12 or 11. Okay, and then I'm going to CMD add. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is I would like the date to go on the top left of every sheet that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the command button, and I'm going to get the command, I'm going to get the macro written private sub command add button click. And the first thing I'm going to do is, so I have this little macro started for when I click the button. And so the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to declare worksheet. So dim worksheet WS as worksheet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set WS equals active sheet. So any sheet that we're on, I would like you to be able to insert the date on. So active sheet. Okay, and so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it where to put the month and the date. And so I'm going to say WS range A1 dot value equals ME, which is the short form for our user form. So I called it CB. So there it is there, CBX month. So I'd like the month to go on the active sheets A1. And now I would like worksheet dot range, and I would like B1 to have the year. So I'm going to go quotations B1 or 1, and then I'm going to go in quotation marks, in brackets, and I'm going to go dot value. And I'm going to go equals, equals ME dot CMB, if I remember it, MD at year. And both of these should have a dot value on the end of them. Okay, so that's pretty well all we need to do here. And so let's go to our user form, and let's just make sure that we're on, okay, we're on an A1, so that, or sheet 1, sorry. So now let's run our user form. Let's click on the user form and not the button, and let's go run. And so you get to select a month, and I'm going to select November, and then you're going to select a year, and I'm going to put 220, and I'm going to go add. And so there it's put your month and your year on the user form. So that's handy. But let's make a little module. So I've got inserted a module here, and just so that you don't have to go to the user form to run it every time. And so I'm going to call it sub add date. And I'm going to go opening bracket, closing bracket, and then I'm going to go, I'm going to use the with command, and I'm with user form 1 because that's the name of our user form. Oops. And then I go, now we can just use, because we're using the with, we can just put dots. So I can go with and it go equals. And when I looked at when I went to the user form, so I'll just show you where I got this from. And you click on the user form and you go down and you can see width is 220 or 220.5, and then I have height at 152.25. Okay, so let's go back to our module. And that's where I got it from. So I'm going to say width equals 220. And I'm going to go dot height. And I'm going to go equals 152. And then the last one I'm going to do is dot show. At the end of my show here, I put end and width. Okay, and so now we should be good to go. So we're going to save this. And now let's put on a new sheet onto our workbook. And considering we said active sheet, it doesn't matter what sheet name it is. What we need to do is we need to go to the macros, the macro list here. And then we have the add date that we've just created, and we're going to run that. And now we have our boxes, and we can select November, and we can select 220. And then we can go add. So any sheet that you have, you can always call up this macro, and you can see from the drop-down list, you can choose what you like. The next thing we are going to be doing is we are going to go on and we're going to discuss list boxes. Now we're going to talk about list boxes, and they are the next icon that is on your toolbar. So let's first of all show you what I've done to my worksheet. So I've downloaded a list of parts here, and I would like there to be a user form that allows you to display all these parts. And then I'm assuming that on sheet 2 is going to be your invoice or purchase order or whatever, and you can you can have these parts entered in here. Now, the thing to notice here is that there is 2 columns on this, and I've named this range parts similar to what we were doing in our combo box. Naming the range makes it a lot easier for pulling it up. So let's go to our user form. I've got a blank user form here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a list box here. And so I'm going to select it and I'm going to drag it across. And it's going to be fairly large because of the amount of data I have in it. Okay, and so now there is a few things we need to do with this. First of all, I am going to rename it just so that I know what I'm doing when I get to the coding. I'm going to call it list select parts. Okay, and press enter. Now, there's a few things we need to do in this. First thing, we'd like to be able to select more than one range. Or the very first thing we need to do is columns. If you remember right, we had 2 columns of data in our sheet, so we would like to display 2 columns. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to multi-select. The normal select is single select, but we have selected full form multi-select multi. That's the second thing that you need to do. And now to the row source, what we're going to do is we're going to click in here and we're going to type in the parts that we've named the range there, and they should now appear in our perfect. And now they've appeared in our list box. So now I'm just going to bring it up a little bit so that it's not so big. And the other thing that we're going to need to do, let me make this a little smaller form too, because it doesn't need to be quite this big. Okay, and then we're going to need to add a button here, so I'm going to add a button right there. And I'm going to change the caption, or first of all, I'm going to call it command add. And then I am going to change the caption from command button 1 to add. And just for good time's sakes, I'm going to go select 11 there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write our code in for the add. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click the add button, and then we will go to the commands, or the sub for the command button. And so private sub command add, and we're going to click. Okay, and so then let's leave a little space between here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dim add parts as range. Okay, and then I'm going to dim x as integer. Okay, and so then what we're going to do is we're going to set the name of we're going to name the range, and so we're going to go set. This is the range we're naming, add parts equals sheet 2 dot cells, and I'm going to go opening bracket on row count, rows dot count, and then I'm going to go comma, and I'm going to go 3, and then I'm going to close the bracket, and then I'm going to go dot end and opening bracket. So it's going to go to the bottom and then come up, XL up. And then I'm going to go offset. I don't want the actual last line. I'd like the line below that. And I'm going to go offset. One comma 0. So I'm going down one row, and I'm going to end that bracket. And then we're going to press enter. And then we're going to start a for loop here. So we go for x equals 0 to me, which is the username short form, me L, there's my select parts, this select parts, I'm going to select it, dot list count, and I'm going to select that too, and I'm going to go -1. It starts counting at 0, so if you don't go -1, you're going to be missing something along the line. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an if statement here. I'm going to go tab, and I'm going to go if, and then I'm going to go me, which is the short form again, and then list, which is my selected, my name range there, and dot selected, which I'm going to choose, and then I'm going to go bracket X, close the bracket, and then I'm going to go with then, and then I'm going to go enter, and I'm going to tab over because I'm in an if statement now, and I can go add parts equals me dot list. There's my thing. Dot list, and then I go opening bracket X, close bracket, and then I go, so that's got the first thing now, and so now I would like it to offset by one column so we get the price now. We've got the description, and now let's get the price. And so we're going add parts dot offset, and I'm going to go 0 rows, 1 column, and I'm going to close the bracket, and then equals me dot list, and there's my parts again, list parts, and then I'm going to go dot list, and then I'm going to go, I'm going to tell it where to put it, and so I'm going to go X comma 1, so it moves over there as well. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to set add parts equals add parts dot offset. So now what we're doing is we're moving down to the next row so we can put the next item in. Okay, and so now we do end if, and then I'm going to go back so I can line up my end if. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put next X because we're doing the for loop there. So let's go enter, then we'll go back again and we'll go next X. That's to finish our for loop. And now what we're doing is we're putting a little line of code in just in case they don't select anything and press the add button. Then so what we're going to do is we're doing another for loop. So we're going to copy the same line as we have up here. So we're going to go for the whole works. And then we're going to go here and we'll go there and paste it in. And then what we're going to do is if we're going to do another little if statement here. If me dot list parts dot selected and then we're going to go opening bracket X, closing bracket, then me dot list dot selected and I'm going to go X and I'm going to close brackets and I'm going to go equals false. And I'm going to select the false. And then we're going to finish off this loop and we'll go next X. Okay, so that should be okay. So now that we've got this done, we'll go to save and we will go to our user form. And so let's just make sure we're on the right sheet here. No, we're not. I'm going over to my user form here, and then I am going to click on something besides the add button, and then I'm going to run my user form. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select this one, and this one, and we're going to add it to our sheet. And there, they're put into our sheet. Now, if we put quantities in, so we can close this down, and then go back to our sheet. And if we put quantities in here, and 3 of these, and 4 of these, we have our invoice or our purchase order all ready to go. So that is how you use the list box in the user forms. Now we're going to talk about dependent combo boxes. Since you now know how to make a combo box, let's show you how you can create a combo box that's related to the value that's selected in another one. And so I live in Alberta, in Canada, and these are the provinces that are around me. And so the first thing that I've done on this worksheet is I have named several ranges. First of all, I've named provinces. So provinces is Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. And then I've named the ranges. So these are the major cities in these provinces. Notice on I have Alberta, and then I have Saskatchewan, and I have British Columbia. Notice that I have underscore. It's a two-word name, and Excel does not accept spaces in the named ranges. And so I put an underscore under there to make things work. Okay, so now what I've done is I've created a user form with simply 2 combo boxes on them. And so what I have here is my first combo box is provinces, and my second combo box is city. And so on the provinces one, what I've done we've done this before, is we go down to the row source here, and I've put in provinces as my row source, so that I'm the named range provinces is what's going to be displayed here. And so now we want it to display the correct cities relative to the provinces that are brought up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the combo 1 box, and it says private sub combo box 1 change. And so that's exactly what we want. We want it to change with the value change. We want something to happen. Okay, so I'm going to use the case application here. And so what we're going to do is we are going to go, the first line is we're going to go select case combo box 1. So this is what I want it to do if combo box 1 changes. Case, and then combo box 1. What value? Okay, so then what do we want it to do? So case is, so I'm going to put a little tab here, then I'm going to go case is, and then I'm going to go equal, and I'm going to go equal Alberta, and I'm going to put quotation marks around my Alberta. And then I'm going to go after that. So if it says, if the first one says Alberta, then what you're going to do is you're going to say combo box row source. So now what we're doing is we're telling it what to use for a row source for combo box 2. So we're saying combo box two dot row source equals in quotation marks around Alberta. In quotation marks. Okay, so I have 3 provinces here, and so what we're going to do is we're going to change, we're just going to copy this. First of all, in front of the n sub, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put n select, just so that I don't forget. Okay, and then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, so case Alberta, and I'm going to go Control C, and I'm going to go right below it, and I'm going to go Control V. Press the tab here, and then I'm going to go Control V again. And so that the second one would be Saskatchewan. And what I'm going to do, because I'm a lousy typist, is I'm going to go Control C, and I'm going to go Control C, Control V. And then what I'm going to do is, for this one, it's going to be British Columbia. Underscore. And then I'm going to copy this again and put it where. Okay, So that should be just fine. And so let's run it and see how it works. So we'll go back to our user form 1 and we'll make sure that it's not selected anywhere else. And I'm going to bring up or to run it. And so I have province. And so I'm going to select Saskatchewan. And in Saskatchewan, it's bringing up the major cities in Saskatchewan. So let's change this to Alberta. And then we have the major cities of Alberta. And then finally, I'm going to change it to British Columbia. And it's going to bring up major cities in British Columbia. So this is how you do a dependent combo boxes, making it easier by using the case function, and it's also making it easier by using the named ranges. So this is another function that I think you will use. So now we're going to talk about the scroll bar and the spin button on the user form. So let's first go and we'll insert another user form here. And so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, not much. Now, entering scroll bars is quite easy. On the user form itself, then you have to just scroll down. So you're scrolling down on the properties box for the user form, and then we're going to come down where it says scroll bars. Now, let's click on that. It says form scroll bars equals none. So we have 3 options here. We can do just horizontal. And there you go, it's just going to go horizontal. Or we can do, the next one down is just vertical. And so there you just have the vertical. And the last one you have is both bars. Now, this could be what you need, but possibly you don't want to be able to scroll down that far. So below the scroll bar that you've selected here, you have scroll height. Now, how I figure it out normally, it's you can go up further on your properties box here, and you can see the height of this user form. Now, I usually put a multiple of this this height of this. So maybe it's 1.5 times this, or maybe it's 2 times this. So let's just make it 400 for the height. And now let's look at the width. We'll just scroll down a little bit so we can see what the width is on this one. The width is 279. So I'm going to make, so for our scroll height we have 400. And for our scroll width, let's go 400 as well. Press enter. Okay, so now let's go back to our user form and let's put on a few things that we can scroll away from, or and then we're going to put what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something over here. So I'm going to put in an option button here, and then I'm going to put in a command button here. So there we go. Now let's run our form and see what we've got. And so let's run this. And so now you can see that you can scroll down and see different options. You can scroll over here and see different options as well. So that's how the scroll bars work on a user form. Once again, it allows you to have the user form that's displayed in front of you to be a reasonable size. And if they want to add more information, they can scroll down or across. We'll next talk about the spin button. So let's continue on, and we're going to insert another user form. And so I'm going to go user form here. And now what we're going to do is you need to have, well, first of all, let's put a label on here. So let's let's put here, and I'm going to go, I'm going to change the caption to height in inches. Here we go. And of course, I'm going to change it to 11 because I like that. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we are going to have a text box so you can put your height in there. So now I'm going to enter a text box for the weight, the height value. And so I'm going to go here, and I'll just go like this. And then this is where we put our spin button in. So you click on that, and then you just draw it so it's next to the, there. And there we go. Now we have to write a little bit of code to tie the two of these together. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to name our text box. And so what we're going to do is an alphabetic. Up at the top. I'm going to name it text, TXT. So I'm going to change the name of my text box to TXT HT for height. And then I'm going to change the name of my spin button to spin HT for height. Now, what we need to do is we need to be able to tie these two values together. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the spin button here. And then we get private sub spin height changed. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to say the height value, the text value is equal to what the spin value equals. So what we're going to go is TXT HT, which is our text box dot value. Now equals spin HT dot value. Oops. And that is as much as we need to write. Okay, so let's go back to our user form 2 again. And so let's set some parameters for this text box that for the spin button. What are we spinning there? What are some minimums? What are some maximums? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the categorized. And the first thing what do I want the starting value to be? Now, I'm trying to include everybody, but let's say that the average height of people in the world is, it's got to be at least 4 feet. So I'm going to say 48 inches. Okay, now, and let's scroll down to the bottom until we get to the scrolling options here now. Now, the maximum, I don't know too many people that are 8 feet tall, so let's put the maximum at 96 inches. And the minimum, let's say 24 inches. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to initialize this form so that the value of 48 will appear, so it doesn't just come up as a blank. Okay, so let's double click on the form, and then it says private sub user form. Click. I don't want that. I want user form initialize. So I'm going to scroll down to initialize. Now we can wipe out this private sub click. Okay, and so then on my initialize, I'm basically saying what I said in the one up here. So I'm just making sure that it's not blank when I open up the user form. So I'm Control Cing this and Control Ving here. Okay, so now let's go back to our user form 2 and then let's run this. So there you have your height of 48 inches in there, and so we can scroll up. Now we can scroll down far below the 48 down to 24, but you can select values each way that you want using the scroll buttons. So that's how you use your scroll buttons. I'll have these files so you can practice.